Have you ever stopped to wonder how much power your words really hold? Not just the things you say to others, but the words you whisper to yourself when no one is listening. Every single phrase that comes out of your mouth is shaping the way people see you, but more importantly, it is shaping the way you see yourself. Words are not harmless sounds. They are signals. They reveal your mindset, your strength, and the way you handle life. They can lift you up, or they can quietly destroy you without you even noticing. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone speak in a way that instantly made you question their confidence, their intelligence, or their ability to handle challenges? You didn't even need to know their story. Their words told you everything. The truth is, people are always listening, but even if the world were silent, your brain is listening too. Every phrase you repeat becomes a command. It programs your mind, it builds habits of thought, and those habits become the foundation of your future. This is why intelligent people guard their words carefully. Not because they are trying to impress others, but because they understand the link between language and destiny. They know that the wrong words can sabotage opportunity, kill motivation, and weaken character. They know that careless phrases carry energy, and that energy shapes everything: your relationships, your reputation, your self-belief. The difference between a person who grows stronger with every challenge and a person who breaks under pressure often comes down to the words they allow themselves to say. The moment you declare defeat with your language, your brain stops searching for solutions. The second you use words that strip you of responsibility, you hand over your power to circumstances. But when you choose words that reflect courage, determination, and resilience, you activate something far greater inside of you. You remind yourself that you are capable, even in the face of struggle. This is why you must pay attention to the 6 things intelligent people never say. Because these are not just casual phrases, they are hidden traps. They sound small, but they carry weight. They sound harmless, but they reveal weakness. And once spoken often enough, they build an identity that holds you back. Imagine how different your life would look if you stopped repeating the words that weaken you and replaced them with words that made you stronger. How many doors would open if people around you could feel your confidence, your resilience, and your clarity every time you spoke? How much more could you achieve if your inner dialogue stopped working against you and started working for you? Stay with this message, because by the end, you will have the clarity to cut out 6 phrases that intelligent people never allow themselves to say. And when you cut them out, you will feel the shift. You will notice the way people respond to you differently. You will notice how your own mind begins to see possibilities where it once saw obstacles. You will notice how much more control you feel over your life, simply because you chose to protect your words. Every sentence you speak is a reflection of who you are becoming. Intelligent people understand this, and that is why they never waste language on weakness. If you want to rise higher, if you want to be respected, if you want to build a life that matches the strength you know you have inside, it begins here. It begins with the words you allow to leave your mouth. Guard them, sharpen them, and let them guide you to the future you deserve. Your words carry weight not only in the ears of others, but in the chemistry of your own brain. Every phrase you speak signals to your mind whether to rise or to retreat. Neuroscience shows that when you repeat empowering language, your brain builds stronger neural connections that support confidence and problem solving. But when you use weak or self-defeating words, those same pathways are wired for doubt and hesitation. Over time, your language becomes your identity, and your identity becomes your reality. This is why intelligent people are intentional with every sentence they choose. They understand that words are not random. They are tools. They shape perception, and perception determines opportunities. If you constantly declare that you are powerless, your brain shuts down the very systems designed to find solutions. But if you speak with determination, you awaken resilience and creativity inside yourself. The difference may sound small, but the effect is massive. Think of the times you have heard someone respond to a challenge with defeat in their voice. Immediately you sense a lack of belief, a lack of control. Now think of someone who faces the same challenge but responds with calm strength and purposeful language. One person weakens their own position, the other builds credibility without even trying. That is the invisible influence of words. People can sense it even when they don't consciously notice it. And more importantly, you can feel it in yourself. The truth is, your words are not neutral. They are either empowering you or limiting you. Every time you choose phrases that reflect possibility, you are building an inner environment of strength. Every time you choose words of defeat, you are building an inner environment of weakness. Intelligent people are aware of this invisible exchange, and that is why they refuse to let careless language govern their lives. When you recognize that every sentence you speak is programming your future, you begin to take control of your vocabulary. You stop throwing away words carelessly. You stop repeating phrases that strip you of responsibility or shut down your ability to grow. You become intentional, disciplined, and powerful with the language you use. And this discipline doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself in the mirror. It reinforces your belief that you are capable of facing whatever life places before you. This is the real difference between drifting through life and leading it with purpose. Drifting happens when your words are careless, when you don't realize how much they are shaping you. Leadership begins when you use words as a weapon of strength, as a foundation for resilience, as a declaration of who you are choosing to become. Every phrase becomes a statement of identity, and that identity pulls you toward your higher self. When you begin to filter the words you allow yourself to speak, you notice a shift. Your energy changes, your focus sharpens, your confidence grows. You no longer leak weakness through careless phrases. Instead, you radiate intelligence, self-control, and quiet power. And people respond to that. They lean in, they trust you, they respect you. Not because you are pretending to be something you're not, but because your words are aligned with the strength that already lives within you. Guarding your language is not about perfection. It is about direction. It is about choosing words that push you forward, not drag you back. It is about speaking in a way that unlocks your potential instead of burying it. And when you commit to this, you stop speaking from fear, and you start speaking from strength. That is when your words stop being ordinary and start becoming the force that builds the life you truly deserve. One of the most damaging sentences a person can ever speak is simple but destructive. I can't do this. Those 4 words may feel harmless in the moment, but they are a direct attack on your own potential. The moment you say them, your brain accepts them as truth. Your focus shifts from possibility to impossibility. Your energy collapses, your motivation weakens, and your belief in yourself shrinks. It is not the challenge that stops you. It is the declaration of defeat before the fight even begins. Intelligent people know this, and that is why they never allow those words to escape their mouths. They understand that the brain is wired to adapt, to learn, to grow stronger through resistance. Saying I can't shuts down that natural process. It closes the door to growth before it even begins. But when you replace those words with determination, when you say I will figure it out, something changes inside of you. Your mind starts searching for answers. Your creativity awakens. You begin to see possibilities where before you only saw obstacles. Psychologists call this cognitive framing. The way you phrase a challenge shapes how your brain interprets it. If you declare something impossible, your brain stops trying. If you frame it as a problem to solve, your brain mobilizes its resources to find a way through. This is not about pretending everything is easy. It is about refusing to let your language chain you to failure before you even start. Intelligent people know that difficulty is not a sign of weakness. It is the very condition that makes growth possible. Every time you say I can't, you are training yourself to accept less from life. You are building a pattern of surrender. But every time you choose to reframe those words, you are training yourself to push further, to endure, to believe that you are capable of more than you thought. That repeated choice becomes resilience. It becomes confidence. It becomes a quiet strength that people can sense in you without you ever needing to announce it. Think about how powerful it feels to stand in front of something intimidating and declare, I can do this. Not because you know exactly how, not because the path is clear, but because you refuse to let your words weaken you. That declaration changes your posture, your energy, your approach. It gives you permission to try, to fail, to learn, and to rise again until you succeed. Intelligent people don't see I can't as an option because they understand that growth only happens when you commit to moving forward, even without guarantees. You have spoken I can't too many times in your life. Each time, it carved a scar into your confidence. But today, you have the chance to erase it. You have the power to replace it with words that build you instead of break you. Every challenge you face is an invitation to prove to yourself that you are stronger than you think. And when you meet that challenge with language that reflects courage, you discover that strength was always inside you, waiting for your permission to surface. So stop feeding your brain the poison of I can't. Replace it with the fuel of I will. Speak like someone who believes in their own ability to grow. Choose words that expand you, not words that shrink you. Because the moment you eliminate those 4 weak words from your vocabulary, You unlock the door to a life where nothing is beyond your reach. The danger of weak language is not only in what it does to your mind, but in how it shapes the entire reality you live in. When you tell yourself you cannot, you plant a seed of limitation. That seed grows into hesitation, into doubt, into wasted potential. Intelligent people know that life will test them, but they also know that surrendering to limitation is the fastest way to guarantee failure. They do not give their words the power to lock them inside a cage. They speak in ways that keep doors open, because the mind will always follow the path your language builds for it. Every phrase you choose is either creating a wall or a bridge. "I can't" builds a wall so high you never even attempt the climb. "I will find a way" builds a bridge that carries you into possibilities you never imagined. That is why intelligent people do not just protect their words, they use them deliberately, as tools to shape their resilience and expand their capacity to handle challenges. They understand that strength is not given, it is created through persistence, and persistence is born from the language of determination. The trap of limitation lies in its subtlety. It doesn't always scream loudly. Sometimes it shows up as quiet phrases of doubt, whispered in moments of fatigue. But even in those quiet moments, the brain records the message. It accepts it as truth. This is why your words must be disciplined, even when no one else is around. The language you use when you are alone is even more important than the words you use in front of others, because those words write the script your mind will follow when things get hard. Intelligent people know this, and they refuse to program themselves for defeat. The shift is simple but powerful. Every time you feel the urge to say "I can't," pause and reframe it. Instead of declaring the end, declare the beginning. Replace the barrier with a challenge. Tell yourself, "I don't know how yet, but I will figure it out." This single shift changes your internal state. It moves you from helplessness to possibility, from paralysis to action. And once you are in motion, momentum builds, confidence grows, and strength multiplies. Resilience is not about never facing difficulty. It is about facing difficulty without allowing your words to make it heavier than it already is. When you speak defeat, you double the weight of the challenge. When you speak strength, you lighten the load by fueling yourself with belief. Intelligent people are not immune to struggle, but they are masters of language. They use their words to cut through resistance instead of adding to it. Every time you remove a phrase of limitation from your vocabulary, you reclaim power, you strip away excuses, you remind yourself that your potential is far greater than the fear that tries to silence you. And with each replacement of weakness with strength, your identity transforms. You stop seeing yourself as someone who might fail, and you start seeing yourself as someone who will endure until success becomes the only outcome. The mind is always listening, and it will always act on the signals you give it. Speak weakness, and weakness grows. Speak courage, and courage multiplies. Intelligent people never gamble with their words, because they understand that language is destiny. If you want to step into the strength that has always been inside you, guard every sentence, protect every phrase, and let your words build the future your heart has always known was possible. There is another phrase that weakens the mind just as deeply as "I can't," and it is this: "That's not fair." Those three words may feel justified, but they carry a hidden poison. They shift your focus from growth to resentment, from action to complaint. The moment you say them, you give away control. You place your future in the hands of circumstances instead of taking ownership of your response. Intelligent people understand that fairness is not promised in life. The world does not bend itself to make things equal. Some people start with advantages, others with disadvantages, but the truth is this: no amount of complaining about fairness has ever changed an outcome. What changes outcomes is resilience, responsibility, and relentless adaptation. When you cling to the idea of fairness, you lock yourself into frustration. You begin to measure your life not by progress, but by comparison. You spend your energy looking at what others have, instead of focusing on what you can create. Intelligent people refuse to waste that energy. They know that fairness is an illusion, but progress is real. They stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What can I do now?" That single shift transforms weakness into strength, because it takes back the one thing you always control: your response. Psychologists have studied this mindset extensively. People who focus on fairness often fall into victim mentality, where the mind searches for reasons to justify inaction. But those who focus on responsibility develop resilience, higher achievement, and stronger emotional health. Responsibility creates empowerment. It reminds you that while you cannot control everything, you can always control how you show up, how you fight, and how you grow. Intelligent people choose that path because they refuse to be victims of circumstances. They choose to be architects of outcomes. When you say that's not fair, you tell yourself that you are powerless. You tell yourself that life has taken something from you that you cannot get back. But when you shift to responsibility, you tell yourself that you can adapt, that you can fight, that you can rise regardless of the conditions. That shift is where strength is born. That is where intelligence shines through, not in avoiding difficulty, but in using difficulty to sharpen your edge. Life will always present situations that feel unfair. You may not get the opportunities others have. You may face obstacles others never encounter. But you also have the ability to turn struggle into strength, pain into purpose, and setbacks into breakthroughs. That ability is wasted the moment you surrender to complaint. Intelligent people understand that complaining is a trap. It feels good in the moment, but it robs you of momentum. The more you feed it, the weaker you become. The more you choose responsibility, the stronger and more unshakable you grow. If you want to rise, remove those words from your vocabulary. Stop telling yourself life must be fair before you can succeed. Stop waiting for conditions to change before you take action. The world owes you nothing, but you owe yourself everything. Every time you rise above the cry of "that's not fair," you prove to yourself that you are bigger than circumstances. You remind yourself that success is not about perfect conditions. It is about relentless commitment to growth no matter what. Do not give your energy to complaint. Give it to action. Give it to discipline. Give it to building a life so strong that fairness no longer matters, because you created your own path. Intelligent people live this truth, and that is why they never waste their breath on words that strip them of power. When you free yourself from the trap of fairness, you awaken to a deeper truth. The only real power you will ever have is responsibility. Responsibility is not a burden, it is liberation. It is the moment you stop waiting for someone else to fix your life and you take ownership of every choice, every reaction, every step forward. Intelligent people rise above complaint because they understand this simple reality. If it is in their hands, they will handle it. If it is beyond their hands, they will adapt. Either way, they refuse to stand still. Blame may feel comforting, but it is weakness disguised as relief. Every time you say, "It's not fair," or "It's not my fault," you give away a piece of your strength. You let circumstances control you instead of controlling yourself. Responsibility, on the other hand, returns that strength. It reminds you that while you cannot rewrite the past, you can shape the future. The difference between a person who stays stuck and a person who breaks through is often measured by this single choice. Do you complain, or do you take ownership? Psychology reveals that people who embrace responsibility develop higher levels of confidence and resilience. Why? Because they no longer see themselves as powerless. They know that no matter how difficult life becomes, they still hold influence over their attitude, their effort, and their response. This mindset doesn't just change outcomes, it changes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone life happens to, and you start seeing yourself as someone life responds to. That shift builds an unstoppable inner force. Intelligent people never let their energy rot in blame. They use it as fuel. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to practice control, to practice discipline, to practice courage. This is why they grow stronger, while others grow bitter. They refuse to let external circumstances dictate the size of their dreams or the depth of their determination. And every time they choose responsibility, they build unshakable trust with themselves. They know they can rely on their own strength, because they have proven it again and again in the face of difficulty. The most powerful words you can ever say in a moment of struggle are not, "This isn't fair." The most powerful words are, "What can I do right now?" That question strips away helplessness and opens the door to action. It brings your focus back to the only thing that has ever mattered, your ability to take the next step. It reminds you that forward progress is always possible, even when it is small, even when it feels slow. Progress is born in responsibility, and responsibility is the mark of true intelligence. When you live this way, life stops feeling like a series of punishments and starts feeling like a series of challenges. Each one is an invitation to grow. Each one is a test of character. Each one is a chance to prove that you are stronger than the circumstances that try to break you. The weight of responsibility may feel heavy at first, but over time, it is the very weight that builds your strength. Intelligent people welcome it because they know it is the path to mastery, freedom, and lasting self-respect. Take ownership of everything within your reach. Stop wasting energy on what you cannot control, and pour it fully into what you can. Speak words that reflect strength, not weakness. Choose responsibility in every moment, and you will discover that the power you have been searching for has been within you all along. There is a phrase that kills possibility before it ever has the chance to breathe. That's impossible. Those words are the silent killers of dreams, the quiet assassins of creativity, the instant destroyers of progress. The moment they leave your mouth, you shut the door on growth. You slam it closed on solutions. You tell your mind to stop searching, to stop imagining, to stop fighting. And just like that, your potential is silenced not by the challenge itself, but by the limits of your own belief. Intelligent people understand the danger of this phrase. They never speak it, because they know the world has been built by those who refuse to believe in impossibility. Every breakthrough in history, every innovation, every transformation was once dismissed as impossible. Yet someone, somewhere, chose different words. They asked a different question. Instead of declaring, "It can't be done," they asked, "How can it be done?" That single shift unlocked solutions that reshape the world. Your brain is designed for adaptation. It is wired to solve problems, to create strategies, to find pathways where none appear to exist. But when you speak the word impossible, you paralyze it. You deactivate the very system meant to carry you forward. Neuroscience shows that belief shapes perception. If you declare something impossible, your mind filters out potential opportunities. But if you declare something possible, even without knowing how, your brain begins to search, to experiment, to innovate. Possibility fuels creativity. Creativity fuels progress. This is not about blind optimism. It is about refusing to set limits with your own words. Difficulties are real, barriers are real. But impossibility is a choice. Intelligent people refuse to make that choice. They look at obstacles not as dead ends, but as puzzles. They speak in a way that keeps their mind alive, engaged, and focused on solutions. They know that impossibility is not a fact, it is a belief, and beliefs can be changed. Every time you say that's impossible, you shrink yourself. You build invisible walls around your potential. You lower the ceiling of your future before you ever reach for it. But every time you ask, "How can I?" you expand your vision. You invite creativity to flow. You unlock resilience that pushes you to try again and again until you find a way. That mindset is what separates those who achieve from those who surrender. Look at your own life and ask yourself honestly, how many times have you killed your own growth by declaring something impossible? How many doors have you closed before even trying to push them open? You don't need to wait for someone else to show you it can be done. You need to remove the phrase that keeps you chained to smallness. Intelligent people never say impossible, because they know every achievement begins with the belief that there must be a way. Speak words that fuel persistence, not words that shut it down. Replace impossible with determination. Replace finality with curiosity. Let your language keep the door open, because once you allow your mind to search, it will find paths that once seemed invisible. Never forget, impossibility only exists in the mind of those who choose to accept it. Intelligent people refuse to give it power, and so should you. Declaring something impossible is dangerous, but even more destructive is the arrogance of saying, "I already know that." Those words may seem harmless, but they carry within them the seed of stagnation. The moment you say them, you shut the door to learning. You close yourself off to deeper understanding. You stop listening, you stop growing, and you blind yourself to the very insights that could elevate you to the next level. Intelligent people never let pride rob them of progress. They know that knowledge is endless, and every situation holds the potential for a new perspective if you are humble enough to seek it. The truth is, arrogance disguises itself as confidence, but it is nothing more than insecurity in disguise. When you tell yourself that you already know, you silence curiosity. Yet curiosity is the foundation of growth. Psychology shows us that the human brain thrives on novelty and exploration. Each new insight strengthens neural connections, building adaptability, creativity, and problem-solving ability. But when you block that process with dismissive words, you force your brain to live in repetition, and repetition without curiosity becomes decay. Humility is the hallmark of true intelligence. It is the recognition that no matter how much you have learned, there is always more to uncover. Intelligent people stay open, not because they lack confidence, but because they value growth more than ego. They understand that wisdom doesn't shout, it listens. Wisdom doesn't boast, it absorbs. Wisdom is found not in declaring what you know, but in remaining open to what you might still learn. The danger of "I already know that" is that it convinces you there is no need to go deeper. But growth lives in the details. Sometimes the reminder of a truth you've heard 100 times is the very thing that transforms you the 101st time. Sometimes a familiar idea lands differently because you are finally ready to apply it. If you dismiss it too quickly, you rob yourself of the chance to change. Intelligent people know this, and so they approach even familiar lessons with fresh eyes and open hearts. There is strength in admitting that you do not know everything. There is courage in allowing yourself to be a student of life, always learning, always refining, always hungry for more. The words I already know that close the door, but the words what more can I learn here? Swing it wide open. That openness attracts growth, attracts opportunities, attracts breakthroughs that pride would have kept hidden. Your language must reflect humility if you want to continue evolving. Every time you are tempted to dismiss new information, remind yourself that intelligence is not proven by what you already know, but by how willing you are to keep learning. The most intelligent people are not the ones who speak the loudest, but the ones who listen the deepest. They let go of ego so they can grasp wisdom. They replace arrogance with curiosity, and in doing so, they keep rising while others remain stuck. Never let pride stop your progress. Remove "I already know that" from your vocabulary and replace it with a hunger for growth. Let every moment be a lesson, every conversation a chance to expand, every challenge an opportunity to learn. The one who stays curious will never stop growing, and the one who never stops growing will never stop rising. Intelligent people live by this truth, and that is why their journey never reaches a dead end. Arrogance closes the mind, but blame poisons the soul. Few phrases reveal weakness more clearly than "it's not my fault." Those words may feel like protection, a way to shield your pride from failure, but in reality, they are chains that keep you stuck. Every time you speak them, you surrender control. You place your future in the hands of excuses, and you convince yourself that growth is someone else's responsibility. Intelligent people never allow that kind of weakness into their language, because they understand a timeless truth. If you do not own it, you cannot change it. The act of blaming strips away your power. It convinces you that you are a victim, that your struggles exist because of someone else's decision, and that your only option is to endure it helplessly. But responsibility, even for things you did not directly cause, transforms weakness into strength. It tells your mind, "I have influence here. I can act. I can adapt. I can overcome." That shift is what separates intelligence from mediocrity. It is not about fault, it is about power. Fault looks backward, but responsibility looks forward. Psychology reveals that people who embrace responsibility consistently outperform those who cling to blame. Why? Because responsibility fuels growth. It strengthens resilience, it creates problem-solving behavior, and it builds confidence. Blame, on the other hand, erodes all three. It weakens your belief in yourself, it delays action, and it destroys trust. When you blame, you are not just telling the world you are powerless, you are teaching your own mind to expect less from itself. Intelligent people never fall for that trap. They know that life will present challenges that are unfair, unexpected, and painful, but they also know that blaming those circumstances solves nothing. By taking ownership of what they can control, they reclaim the ability to move forward. Even in situations where they are not at fault, they still ask themselves, "What can I learn here? What can I change? How can I grow stronger from this?" That mentality turns setbacks into stepping stones, and failure into fuel. When you say, "It's not my fault," you disconnect yourself from growth. You close off the possibility of learning. But when you say, "I will take responsibility," you reconnect with your own potential. You send a signal to your brain that you are capable, adaptable, and prepared to handle whatever comes. This is the foundation of self-respect. People trust those who own their mistakes. They respect those who accept accountability. And most importantly, you begin to trust yourself when you stop hiding behind excuses. The truth is, life doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to be responsible. You will make mistakes. You will face setbacks. You will encounter situations beyond your control. But the measure of your strength is not whether you avoid those moments. It is how you respond to them. Intelligent people never waste energy blaming others, because they know it keeps them trapped. They take ownership, because ownership leads to growth. Remove "it's not my fault" from your vocabulary, and replace it with words of accountability. Stand tall in the face of mistakes, not with excuses, but with resolve. Choose responsibility over blame, growth over excuses, power over weakness. Every time you do, you take back control of your life, your future, and your destiny. Intelligent people live by this standard, and it is the very thing that makes them unstoppable. Excuses are the language of limitation. They disguise themselves as logic, but in reality, they are subtle acts of surrender. Every time you allow yourself to say, "I can't," because you carve another boundary around your potential. You tell your subconscious mind that growth is optional, that discipline is negotiable, and that greatness is only for those who were handed perfect circumstances. Intelligent people know this is a lie. They reject excuses because they understand that excuses are nothing more than carefully crafted reasons to stay the same. The brain is powerful, and it listens to everything you say. When you repeat excuses, you teach your mind to settle for less. You condition yourself to accept mediocrity, to justify inaction, and to convince yourself that comfort is safer than progress. But comfort is not safety. It is slow destruction. Every excuse steals from your future, not all at once, but little by little, until you wake up one day realizing how much potential you abandoned. Intelligent people do not allow themselves to fall into that trap. They catch their excuses, challenge them, and replace them with action. Growth requires discomfort. There will never be a perfect time, a perfect situation, or a perfect feeling that makes it easy to rise to your highest level. Excuses thrive on waiting for perfection, but intelligent minds understand that action must come first. Clarity comes from movement, not hesitation. Progress is built by showing up, even when you feel unready, even when it's inconvenient, even when the voice of doubt screams for you to pause. Those who rise are not the ones with fewer obstacles, but the ones with fewer excuses. Every excuse is a shield you build to protect your pride, but that same shield becomes the barrier that blocks your future. The moment you strip it away, you expose yourself, but in that exposure comes freedom. You stop hiding from your weaknesses and start facing them. You stop running from the work and start doing it. You stop pretending you lack control and begin exercising it. Intelligent people are not fearless, but they are relentlessly honest. They look at the truth of their situation and refuse to decorate it with excuses. Psychology proves that excuses provide temporary relief, but long-term regret. They reduce short-term discomfort by giving you a justification for inaction, but that relief quickly turns into shame when you realize you betrayed yourself. Responsibility, on the other hand, feels heavy at first, but it creates lasting strength. It builds trust in yourself, fuels momentum, and carves resilience into your character. Intelligent people are willing to endure that weight, because they know it transforms them into someone capable of far more than they once believed. The moment you decide to remove excuses, everything changes. You stop waiting for the right time and start creating it. You stop envying others who seem ahead and begin building your own path. You stop lying to yourself about why you can't and start asking how you can. That simple shift is the difference between a life wasted and a life fulfilled. Intelligent people live by it, and they know it is the only way to rise above mediocrity. Excuses may feel safe, but they keep you small. Responsibility feels demanding, but it makes you powerful. Choose power. Choose growth. Choose the path of no excuses. That is where transformation begins, and that is where the life you were meant to live is built. Discipline is the ultimate form of self-respect. It is the proof that you take your life seriously, that you value your goals enough to act in alignment with them, even when it is difficult. Motivation can spark a fire, but discipline is what keeps it alive when the spark fades. Intelligent people understand that their future is not built on how they feel in a single moment, but on the habits they repeat consistently day after day, regardless of emotion. Every time you choose discipline, you are voting for the person you want to become. Every choice is a brick, and with each disciplined action, you lay the foundation of strength, resilience, and self-trust. Without discipline, all your dreams remain fragile ideas. With discipline, they harden into reality. The body may resist, the mind may argue, but discipline overrides both, reminding you that you are not a slave to impulse. You are the master of your destiny. The psychology is clear. The more you exercise discipline, the stronger it becomes. Just like a muscle, it grows with use. The problem is that most people only use it when it's convenient. They abandon discipline the moment discomfort arrives. Intelligent people flip this. They welcome discomfort as the gym where discipline is trained. They know that every moment of resistance is an opportunity to grow stronger. Where others quit, they continue. Where others give in, they rise. And that is why they create results that seem unattainable to those still ruled by their moods. Discipline is not punishment. It is liberation. It frees you from the chaos of inconsistency, the frustration of regret, and the endless cycle of starting over. It gives you control in a world that tries to pull you in every direction. It sharpens your focus when distractions are everywhere. It anchors you to your vision when temptation whispers for you to drift. Without it, you are tossed around by circumstance. With it, you stand unshakable, no matter what storms arrive. There will be days when everything in you wants to stop, when excuses sound louder than your purpose. These are the exact days that matter most. Discipline is not proven when it is easy, it is proven when it feels unbearable. Each time you show up anyway, you teach your subconscious mind that you are someone who follows through, someone who cannot be broken by a fleeting emotion. That identity becomes unshakable, and once it is forged, there is nothing more powerful. Intelligent people understand that discipline compounds. One disciplined decision today makes the next one easier. One disciplined habit creates momentum that spills into every area of life. The person who trains their mind to follow through on the small things becomes unstoppable in the big things. Success is rarely a single event. It is the accumulation of countless disciplined actions that, over time, transform into extraordinary results. When you choose discipline, you separate yourself from the masses. Most people are controlled by comfort, slaves to distraction, and victims of their excuses. But discipline elevates you above all of that. It is the quiet force that builds empires, crafts masterpieces, and turns ordinary individuals into leaders. It does not happen overnight, but it does happen for those who refuse to compromise with weakness. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. Cross it every day, and eventually, you will look back realizing that you no longer need to force yourself. You have become the person who naturally lives with focus, strength, and power. That transformation is the reward of discipline, and it belongs only to those who have the courage to commit. Discipline carves strength, but focus directs it. A scattered mind can waste years chasing distractions, while a focused one can transform a single year into a lifetime of progress. Intelligent people guard their focus like a treasure because they understand it is the most valuable currency they own. Time is fleeting, energy is limited, but focus, when harnessed, has the power to bend both. Without focus, discipline becomes misdirected effort. With focus, every action compounds towards something greater. Focus is not about doing more. It is about cutting away everything that does not serve your purpose. It is about silencing the noise of comparison, the constant pull of other people's expectations, and the endless lure of meaningless gratification. The more you learn to narrow your vision, the sharper your results become. When you protect your focus, you reclaim control over your life. You stop living reactively and start living with intention. The mind naturally drifts toward distraction, but focus is the act of bringing it back, again and again, to what matters. That repetition rewires the brain, training it to resist temptation and stay aligned with your deepest priorities. Most people allow their attention to be stolen by trivial things, and they wonder why they never reach extraordinary outcomes. Intelligent people, however, deliberately design their environment to fuel focus, cutting off everything that dilutes their energy. They know that what you feed your attention to is what you ultimately become. Every moment you spend focused is an investment in your future self. Every moment you waste in distraction is a debt you'll eventually pay with regret. The truth is harsh but undeniable. Your destiny is being shaped in the ordinary minutes of your day. Each time you choose focus, you cast a vote for mastery. Each time you drift, you cast a vote for mediocrity. The accumulation of those votes decides who you ultimately become. Focus also requires courage. It demands that you say no to things that may look appealing, but secretly rob you of your potential. It requires that you step away from the comfort of instant gratification and devote yourself to the patience of long-term vision. Intelligent people are not easily seduced by shortcuts or quick wins. They understand that anything truly valuable requires sustained attention. By staying committed when others get bored or distracted, they outlast the competition and build results that cannot be ignored. There will always be noise. There will always be opinions, temptations, and endless options pulling at you. But when your mind is locked on your purpose, that noise fades into the background. You become unshakable, moving with clarity in a world of confusion. People will wonder how you managed to create so much with seemingly less effort, but the truth is simple. While they were scattered, you were concentrated. While they were chasing everything, you were building one thing with relentless precision. Focus is not just a skill, it is a discipline of the mind. a decision you make moment after moment to give your energy only to what serves your higher self. Protect it, strengthen it, and live inside it. When your focus becomes unbreakable, your potential becomes limitless, and no obstacle can stand in the way of the life you are building. When focus becomes a way of living, silence transforms into your greatest ally. The world thrives on noise, constant updates, endless opinions, and distractions designed to scatter your energy. But silence carries power, because in silence your work speaks for itself. Every moment you resist the urge to announce, to prove, or to seek approval, you are building a foundation that cannot be shaken by outside judgment. True strength is forged in quiet effort, not in the echo of applause. There is a certain dignity in working silently, in devoting yourself to the process without broadcasting every move. It removes the pressure of validation and places the weight of responsibility back where it belongs, on you. When no one is watching, excuses fall away, and only discipline remains. You stop working for recognition and start working for mastery. And mastery never shouts. It whispers through results that cannot be denied. The desire to be seen is natural, but it is also a trap. Every time you crave acknowledgement, you hand over power to someone else's opinion. You let their approval dictate your pace, your confidence, your worth. Intelligent people cut that chain. They understand that silence protects vision. It allows progress to grow undisturbed, like roots beneath the soil, hidden yet strengthening, preparing to break through with undeniable force. Silence also builds resilience. When you work without announcing, you are forced to anchor your motivation within yourself. You do not rely on encouragement, likes, or claps to keep going. You rely on conviction. That inner fuel becomes unshakable because it is not dependent on external sources. You become someone who cannot be derailed by doubt, because you are no longer chasing validation, you are chasing excellence. In silence, your focus sharpens. Every ounce of energy that could be wasted on appearances is redirected into execution. Instead of talking about what you will do, you pour that energy into doing it. Instead of telling others your dreams, you turn them into realities they cannot ignore. That shift changes everything. The quiet worker achieves more in months than the loud dreamer achieves in years. And when the results arrive, they speak a language louder than any announcement could. They silence critics, dissolve doubts, and command respect without a single word being spoken. People may question intentions, but they cannot question undeniable outcomes. Results are the only proof the world understands, and results are born from consistent, focused effort performed in silence. This way of living is not about hiding. It is about choosing where to direct your power. Words scatter energy outward, silence condenses it inward, building momentum, pressure, and force until it becomes unstoppable. The discipline of working silently sharpens patience, deepens focus, and strengthens resolve. It separates you from the masses who speak endlessly yet move slowly, because while they are performing for attention, you are preparing for impact. To embrace silence is to embrace strength. It is the refusal to waste energy on appearances, the courage to grow unseen, and the wisdom to understand that true transformation does not need to be announced. When you give yourself fully to the process, without distraction, without noise, you become the kind of person whose presence alone commands respect, not because you asked for it, but because your work, your discipline, and your results have made it undeniable. Silence is not emptiness. It is focus. It is strength. It is the discipline that transforms potential into reality. The moment you stop explaining yourself, stop trying to convince others, and stop seeking validation, you free yourself from the weight of external expectations. That freedom gives you space to build without distraction, to rise without interruption, and to grow without interference. When you choose silence, you choose to protect your energy, to preserve your vision, and to dedicate yourself entirely to the work that truly matters. Every second spent proving yourself is a second stolen from progress. The need to be understood is often the very thing that keeps people stuck. They spend more time talking about their dreams than building them, more time defending their choices than living them. But you are not here to explain. You are here to execute. You are not here to satisfy curiosity. You are here to create results. And when results appear, they carry a truth so undeniable that no explanation will ever be required. The world often confuses noise with achievement. Loudness has become a substitute for progress, but deep down, everyone knows the difference. Noise fades, but results endure. Applause dies, but excellence speaks for itself. Silence, therefore, is not weakness. It is a declaration that you do not need external proof to validate internal conviction. It is a reminder that the loudest victories are often born from the quietest battles. By embracing silence, you are forced to look inward for strength. You do not wait for encouragement. You do not pause for recognition. You do not depend on anyone to keep you moving forward. You build momentum from within, and that kind of momentum is unbreakable because it cannot be taken away. It is not given, so it cannot be stolen. It belongs to you entirely. That is the power of self-reliance. That is the strength of discipline. The mind grows sharper when it is not distracted by appearances. The heart grows stronger when it is not weighed down by validation. The body grows relentless when it is driven by purpose rather than applause. In silence, every layer of weakness is stripped away, and what remains is pure determination. You stop working to be seen, and start working to be remembered, not because of what you said, but because of what you built, what you achieved, and what you became. And there is something extraordinary about unveiling your progress after seasons of silence. People may doubt, people may question, people may dismiss, but when the results appear, they leave no room for debate. Results are louder than promises, more powerful than opinions, and more enduring than excuses. They erase doubt without a word. They silence critics without confrontation. They shift the atmosphere without explanation. That is the kind of power only silence can create. When you learn to trust silence, you learn to trust yourself. You realize that every ounce of energy must be poured into growth, into improvement, into the unshakable pursuit of your vision. You become less interested in convincing others, and more obsessed with conquering yourself. And that is where transformation begins, not in words, but in relentless, quiet, disciplined action that compounds into undeniable greatness.